4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for April 25th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, an actor teases up big announcements for Summer Game Fest, and we have previews for Paper Mario. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa, everybody. Jan, how are you doing?
I'm down with the sickness, or at least I continue to be down with the sickness. I think we've reached the green level of mucus, so I think that means we're getting better.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think if you're going to color code the mucus, I think green is the good color. You don't want it to be clear.
Right.
Is clear bad?
Clear is bad, I think. I've learned.
Yeah, I've learned that that's bad. Like that means there's an infection. It's like, okay, well, it seems like it wouldn't be bad. You want the pee to be clear. You don't want the mucus to be clear. This is a good start to the show.
Yeah, that's what my doctor always told me growing up.
Yeah,
and oddly enough, he was my dentist, so that was really unsolicited advice. Clear
is good. Is what chat. Clear is allergy apparently. Okay, all right. So
green is infection, so I'm getting worse.
Oh man, the green zone. Oh no. I think you want somewhere in between green and clear, which would be yellow. I don't know anymore. Okay, so you start off the week. You sounded a little bit worse earlier in the week. You're sounding better. So like, do you like? Is that reflected in how you're feeling, or is it just like still mostly that noise?
Duality of man, Grubb.
Yeah.
Why not both?
People missed it. We did a almost 4-hour stream of Blight Club yesterday to finish out Super Dan 64. When like you would look back up and saw that he was still going, what were you thinking?
I thought about the human spirit. I thought about
Indomitable. Yeah,
exactly. I thought about Rocky 2. You know, I think about triumph. I think about how far the man can go, and I thought, you know, hopefully this doesn't actually break Dan.
Rocky 2 is really apt because it does feel like Dan knocked that game out, and the game knocked him out simultaneously.
Yes.
Like, they were both laying at the mat there at the end. That game was kind of always laying on the mat. It never really got up in the first place. But then Dan also had gotten knocked down. Yeah.
Grubb, I'd like to believe I have a pretty good knowledge of comic books. Mostly Marvel, less so DC, but DC to some extent.
Sure.
More than your regular surface level comic reader or moviegoer, I'll say. I don't ever remember Superman fighting big crabs or crabs.
Now, do you think that's one of those ones where they just had the asset for some other game and they put it in there, or maybe like they were like, hey, well, there's crab. Aquaman's probably fought like crab people before, right?
Sure. Yeah. Right. I think there are crab people in both Aquaman movies.
Right. That's what I'm imagining, I think. And so it's like maybe they're like, I don't know. He goes underwater sometime. We got to have something down there. Let's just take Aquaman's crab people.
Yeah. And I think it makes me think, maybe the Man of Steel movies, maybe they would have been better if Henry Cavill was fighting big crabs.
Oh, yeah. Listen, the best part about Superman 64, the video game, is the number of crab people. I was by the end, I was rooting for them. I know we said a lot of hateful things about them, but I take it all back.
Can you imagine if the thing to bring Ben Affleck Superman, or Ben Affleck Batman and Superman and Batman versus Superman, instead of both of them saying, Martha, it was just crabs.
Crab people are delicious. Oh, you love crab people too? We're bros now.
Yeah. Oh, let's hit Red Lobster, bro.
let's hit up the Bob. Let's hit up the Red Lobster. All right, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Nintendo's new Paper Mario remaster doesn't mess with perfection. This is a preview from Michael McWhorter at Polygon. I was also in this preview, and the preview was just a hands-off explanation of the game, where they really just kind of explained what Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is. Again, it's just that game. So it was kind of like, huh. Here's what actually happened, Jan. I was in the preview.
Okay. Yeah.
And the time came for like me to go get Emmy off the bus. And I'm like, well, they're just explaining the basics of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Still a game that, I played a long time ago, and most people played a long time ago. So I'll go get her off the bus, and when I come back, I'm sure they'll still be doing that, or they'll get into the next part of the preview, or we'll be in questions. And I come back from getting my kid off the bus to sit down on the computer, like expecting it to still be going. And I was alone in the Zoom call with the PR people from Nintendo. And instead of putting my headphones back on my microphone, I just left the room, and I was hoping they wouldn't notice. And I had no idea how long I was in there alone with them. They were talking, and I was just, my like avatar was just sitting there. So they're probably just like, Jeff Grubb, what are you doing here? Please leave. I'm like, you could have just kicked me out. It was awkward. Mike was in there as well, and I know that Mike did ask about the frame rate. They did upload a trailer today, and the trailer, this new trailer that it like explains everything we got in the preview. It is not uploaded at 60 frames per second, and they basically said in like when we asked them, yeah, we had to make some changes, so it's not going to feel the same. They didn't like explicitly say not 60 frames per second, but it doesn't seem like it is.
Okay.
I will say at the same time, watching the preview over Zoom, a lot of times I was like, is this 60? It looks smooth enough. It looks really good. I think Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is maybe a game that can mostly get away with this. And a lot of people are going to be like, I don't care one way or the other. But for people who do, I think they have got a smooth enough frame rate, and the animation works with a reduced frame rate that you're probably not going to notice too much. And at the same time, it's a better looking version of The Thousand Year Door in every other way. I was pretty impressed by it.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking this whole time. I know a lot of people are up in arms about like this originally came out on the Wii or the GameCube.
This came out on the GameCube. Yes, this was the GameCube one. Yes.
That like, oh, how come a GameCube game can run at 60, but a modern game has to run at 30?
Fair.
And then, which is a very valid criticism, of course. But I was thinking the whole time that I think this specific art style, like you mentioned, Grubb, with Paper Mario, might actually be able to get away with that because it is not like a 3D platformer of sorts. It is just like 2D Mario, kind of like running around a relatively almost flat surface. And like a lot of the game is like done through or the battles and everything, and like the little scenes of dialogue, right? So I think they can kind of squeeze by and get away with it. I also wonder, in maybe this is like a poll for the future, but like, I'd be interested to see, based off of how many people we generally get voting in these YouTube polls, of like, can you notice 30 frames versus 60 frames?
Yeah, we can.
I know
we should ask that today. That could be the poll question today. That's a good idea.
And or like, does it bother you at least? And like, I know for like a lot of hardcore folks that have like very high end setups, like better screens, better TVs, that will definitely hamper them. Or if like a game is kind of like stuck at 30, but if it's performing fine at 30, like does it bug you, or do you notice it?
Yeah. And
especially if you're not someone that's like watching live sports all the time, where it's something that is in 60. Right.
Yeah. Right. That's like, an interlace 60, but yeah, you get 60 frames per second in live sports. It is, I think it's still disappointing. And it's worth calling out. In chat, like Daba's saying, "Hey, why are we defending Nintendo?" This isn't a defense. I think it's like, hey, I think this happens pretty often on the show. It's like, hey, that is horseshit, and but does it bother me? I can only let so much horseshit bother me, Jan. It's like at this point, I think when I looked at the game in the trailer on YouTube, like with the actual like uncompressed through Zoom, I'm like, this still looks good enough. Now, that said, this is a game that does have timing elements in terms of its combat. So it's like a lot of the other Mario RPGs, where when Mario jumps on a head, you want to be hitting A to do like a double jump to do more damage. And there's all kinds of stuff with that. And there's defense mechanics that work the same way. I think that'll be the proof right there. That'll be the proof in the pudding.
Right.
Is how does that feel? And I can't judge that yet. I could be worried about it, and I am a little bit worried about that. I'm someone who wants that to feel really crisp and pristine. I remember it feeling crisp and pristine in every other Mario RPG for the most part, and especially in Thousand Year Door on the GameCube. And if it feels even slightly worse, to me, that's a pretty significant downgrade, because that's one of my favorite parts of these games. But again, I feel like, okay, there's a reason to be concerned that you have half the number of frames, half the number of information per second to get that timing right. That maybe that could be a problem, but that's just my imagination at this point. I have not played it. I don't know. So I'm just going to have to reserve judgment until then. And at this point, and I have to recognize that that is a concern that I'm like, I have, but we don't know the answer to it. Otherwise though, it looks really good. It looks really well done. I think the updated visuals and the Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, this update remake, however you want to phrase it, is more like we're trying to capture exactly what the game looked like on the GameCube, but make it look as if it kind of released today. Whereas like Super Mario RPG was like this full-on remake, a completely different game in a lot of ways in terms of the visuals. Although trying to capture that original style. This is like, no, this is what your memory is like for this game. And I think that's the right choice here. GameCube games are that first generation of 3D games that were pretty timeless. They are making some additions. If you're like, well, what's the reason to play this game again? If I'm someone who's played it a lot or remember playing it recently or have no interest in playing it again unless there's something new. I don't know how much new stuff is in there beyond the few things that they showed us. There is a badge you can get that plays the original GameCube soundtrack instead of the new reworked soundtrack. That's pretty neat. It's like cheap. It's like $1 in not like real money, but like $1 in game. There is a Battle Master Toad in Toad Port early on that can help you get better at all this stuff. Like it's like a training simulator sort of thing. That's there now. That wasn't in the original game. It's that sort of improvement in terms of like new features. I don't know if there's going to be much else, but I also don't know if Thousand Year Door is something that needs much else. This is a situation where it's like maybe adding would be subtraction. Less is more. The game was already about as good as it could be. They don't need to add to it, I don't think. So how are you feeling in terms of your excitement based on what you've heard?
I've been curious about dipping my toes into Paper Mario. I've always never had the opportunity to check out a Paper Mario game specifically. More so, I've had the opportunity to check out Mario and Luigi games, which similar enough with the RPG mechanics, but I've heard a lot of hype and excitement over Thousand Year Door that I'm like, all right, well maybe we're gonna check out Paper Mario. Maybe who's this forgotten Mario Princess in Goombella? What is a Goombella?
Right.
Also, I see Battle Master Toad on a rundown, and then like, all right, sign me up, Grubb.
Yep, he's out there doing his thing. He looks pretty cool, and I mean that's the thing with Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door and these earlier Mario RPGs overall is the characterization of the supporting cast is so strong, and they did such a good job with it, and that's something that they. For whatever reason, the rumors, the reporting that is always saying Miyamoto didn't like it when there was a Koopa with a hoodie or whatever. So he said, stop that. Whatever the reason was, they got away from that in the more recent games. And even in Origami King, a game that I mostly like other than the battle system, which I think is actually a pretty detrimental thing for an RPG, but whatever. It's still a game I liked overall. Even in that one, which did have good characters, their sort of visual characterization was like, no, they still look like that. Just looks like a Bob-omb. There's nothing that makes him stand out. Even all the actions and the things he's saying do make him stand out. And in Thousand Year Door, it's like, no, they have all of that. And it's at some of the best. And it's at this time when like the Nintendo Treehouse localization team was just top of the world, so much better than everyone else at conveying humor and storytelling. And then they also had these characters that looked cool and animated pretty neatly. And it's I think it's all that's going to come through on this game. And I think what's going to happen is people are going to have these concerns about 30 versus 60. And again, we'll have to see. I saw someone say like, inputs are read on frame generation. And so if like when you hit the button, it's only going to read if the frame was generated. And it's like, that's not always the case. I do expect that to probably be the case here. And that could have an impact on feel. But I think once we get past this period where we're uncertain and we actually have it in our hands, most of this stuff is going to get left by the wayside, and we're just going to focus on what makes this game good in the first place.
Grubb, was there any word from the preview if there was going to be a demo available for this at all?
I don't think they said. Again, I came back afterwards. This game is out May 23rd, though. So, and they've been doing a lot of demos. So I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't think they've said. And I had that trailer earlier, and I don't think they mentioned anything about a demo there. So we'll see. Could still happen though. They got a month before this game is out, and they could have a few more like promotional points on the timeline between now and then when they could announce something like that.
I'm also pretty excited because I've always heard that the Paper Mario games are very funny and that the writing's very good. So I'm curious to see what I missed. Also, Grubb, you buried the lead here. I'm looking at pictures of Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, and there's a ghost with boobs.
Yeah, there's a ghost with chesticles. Yeah, absolutely. She's just out there rocking them and socking them. It's big fan of her.
Hell yeah.
Someone in the chat was saying they should put Boshi in the game as well, and I feel strongly that Boshi should be in most games. So shout outs to Boshi as always. All right, moving on from Ghost Boobs. Gears 5 voice actor heavily implies that Gears 6 will be announced in June. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. Rumors have been swirling that the next Gears of War, likely Gears 6, will be unveiled this summer and will be incredibly impressive from a technical perspective. Now comes another round of rumors, and this time it's the voice actor behind JD, son of Marcus Phoenix. Liam, who is Liam McIntyre, that's the name of the actor. He confirmed on Twitter, they just keep writing X, that we'll find out more about the character's fate, about the dramatic ending of Gears 5 in June. In June, we know that Microsoft will have its usual Xbox game showcase, and several credible journalists and insiders have said that we can expect to see what the coalition has been working on since they released Gears 5 in 2019. And after McIntyre's statement, this now seems even more likely. Everything's kind of lining up. Like I said earlier, a couple weeks ago on the show, this is what I've heard. Gears 6 will probably be debuted at the Summer Game Fest showcase from Microsoft, and that they will probably be pretty bold about showing this thing off. It's not going to be some... Okay. The impression I get, I don't know for sure. The impression I get is this won't be some coy, cute little like trailer that shows a logo or something like that. They're going to go like full bore. Here's this game, and we are far along in development of it. And that to me, that continues to be pretty surprising. But hey, it's Gears. I know it's one of their what they consider to be one of their most important franchises. Is this something that the more you hear about it, the more excited you get, or you're like, I kind of need to see Gears to know before I'm going to get excited? Where are you at with this franchise?
I think it's I need to wait and see.
Yeah, me too.
With specifically with Gears, I don't think I've been interested in Gears of War since Gears 3, probably. Honestly, Gears 4, 5, and I think there was like an in-betweeny game since then as well, kind of have just not existed in my brain space. Actually, I'm lying there. Gears Pop has actually taken a lot of my brain space. And it is a travesty that... Exactly. It's a travesty that Gears Pop has been wiped away from the App Store. I'm interested to see where they'll try and modernize Gears, because I feel like even with Gears 5, despite having like a little bit of an open world setting, control-wise, it still felt pretty samey from the original titles. So like where have they evolved, or where have they chosen to grow or like switch up mechanics? Is the world of Gears 5 just screwed up, Jeff? Are the bugs still a big thing?
I don't know. I always heard really good things about Gears 5, but then I heard very good things about Gears 5 Hivebusters, the DLC that got released for it.
Okay.
And maybe we should go play that. I know we say that all the time on the show. We talk about something, and we're like, man, that'd be great if we had time for it. But maybe that's something that's like we could spend a UPF when we don't have anything else going on, going through that. Because I would like to get accustomed with what everyone was so impressed by in that game, and I do hear it's pretty cool to play cooperatively.
Hive Busters, is that the one where AJ Styles and Xavier Woods were stuck underneath the E3 stage?
That's right. Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Okay, cool.
For me, it's like, okay, I think about Gears 6, and there are three like tiers that they need to figure out. There is a horde mode, which they can probably just leave as is for the most part and make it just add more content to that. I think people would be pretty happy with horde mode, whatever, however you put that out. Then there's the multiplayer and the single player. For the single player, listen, I don't have ideas. I'm not getting paid to do that, but it's like, I do think probably making it more open world does seem like one possible answer. I just don't think you could do the same thing over and over again. But open world is the solution everybody's going with. I still think it can work. Whatever, I don't know. For the multiplayer mode, maybe they should make a drastic change. I guess they could still have the competitive traditional mode if they want, but that seems like the kind of game that might be really well suited to an extraction shooter. Like,
yeah, totally.
Wouldn't that work? I think that could work.
No, 100%, because like you already have like setup phases in between rounds of horde mode that you could kind of apply the same mechanics to just people, right? Just defending an objective like that. Grubb, here's the thing here, perhaps fourth mode, a roguelike mode.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes, roguelike mode. And honestly, Nillock in chat said, "What if it's more like Helldivers? What if it was more like Helldivers? That would be great too."
That'd be cool. That'd actually be really cool, because I think one of my problems that happened with like the evolution of shooters is that Gears kind of remained a very weighty and heavy game.
Yeah.
When like a lot of shooters start to become more mobile and agile, that Helldivers kind of occupies that space where you're not super duper mobile and you kind of plant it to the ground a lot of the time, but it works in that game. Perhaps. Yeah.
I think if you make the weight part of like this is something you're dealing with and it has consequences in the world, man, I would really like some stuff like that. I think what we're getting at here though is if it is Gears 6, the same as it ever was, it will come and go in my life at the very least. I'm gonna pay it cursory glance, and we'll go from there. I'm just not. I wouldn't expect much from that, from my excitement personally.
Grubb, I think we also have to contend with the fact that we live in a world where games as a service has also become like a very prominent thing, and where that can potentially guide a game deep into hell, and not the cool hell. Do you see a possibility where perhaps a lot of this game may have hovered around and trying to incorporate stuff like that, trying to become like a Destiny? Since this has been in development for so long, perhaps like maybe they were approaching Redfall style not monetization, but like mechanics.
I think that they probably are always thinking about that, but I think after Halo Infinite, they might be less ambitious in terms of like, let's do something that's like Destiny. I think they would probably be like, let's just make sure the game is like going to win over our fans first. And I think that's the right place for these games to be. You can always sort of build something out. It is hard to recapture an audience. I think we're seeing right now Fallout 76 get this second chance. And obviously throughout its entire life, people are like, no, it's good now. It's good now. Yeah, sure. Most people ignored you when you were saying that, though. Most people just thought you were crazy, or were like, yeah, I believe you, but I'm not. I don't have it in my heart to go back to that game. And now, because of the show, it got this other chance. That's just not something that happens with almost anything else. So you kind of have to like get it right out of the gate. And if you try to make something that is like going to be this 10-year experience, this forever game, this Destiny like endeavor, you increase the difficulty of delivering something that people will be satisfied by an order of magnitude, and that will just complicate things so much. And that doesn't seem like what they're going for. Again, based on the timelines I hear for like when this game would come out, it seems like they are gonna make something that is laser focused, and I'm excited to see what that means. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe they add I don't know, more than one body type of dudes. Maybe there's skinny dudes now.
I don't think they have the technology for that. They've never been able to figure that one out. Maybe
Everyone has to be super brawling.
everyone has to just be mostly shoulder muscles, and that's it. Shoulder muscles on legs, which, what are these? The traps? They just traps on legs.
Traps.
All right. Nintendo is issuing takedown notices of Garry's Mod, and Garry's Mod will need to delete 20 years worth of items. This is from Nintendo Everything. Nintendo is always protective of its IP, and that stance is now impacting Garry's Mod, which is being forced to take down content for the game. Garry's Mod, a sandbox title, has been around for nearly 2 decades, and it was no stranger to tons of different mods, including ones tied to Nintendo's IP. However, the company is now issuing takedown notices that will affect creations that extend all the way back to the release in 2006. The team behind Garry's Mod wrote the following regarding the situation with Nintendo on Steam. Some of you may have noticed that certain Nintendo-related workshop items have recently been taken down. This is not a mistake. The takedowns came from Nintendo. Honestly, this is fair enough. This is Nintendo's content, and what they allow and don't allow is up to them. They don't want you playing with that stuff in Garry's Mod. That's their decision. We have to respect that and take down as much as we can. This is an ongoing process, as we have 20 years of uploads to go through. If you want to help us by deleting your Nintendo-related uploads and never uploading them again, that would help us a lot. Some fans are having trouble understanding why. This is separate now. Some fans are having trouble understanding why Nintendo is going after Garry's Mod now. Again, the game has been around for roughly 2 decades, and many items are far from new. Nintendo is unlikely to share its reasoning, and nothing can be done, so fans may need to accept the situation and move on. Now, there is an update to the story that adds maybe a potential caveat. Doubt is being cast as to whether the takedown notices are genuine. Fans have brought up a known fraudster. There's a post from February about this fraudster who has previously gone after games related to Nintendo mods. However, the official notice above indicates that Nintendo itself is behind the latest takedown. Either that is indeed the case, or the developers were fooled by the fraudster. Okay, that's a possibility here. But the reality is people are very sensitive right now to Nintendo's lawyers showing up and saying, hey, you are messing with our copyright. What's going on here? And if anyone sniffs at that possibility, they are ripping the Band-Aid off and throwing the baby out with the bathwater, get it all out of here. And Nintendo is definitely a company that would 100% on a whim shift to be we've never cared about this, to being now we're going after this. It is a little strange. And to be clear, I think this sucks. The stuff that people do in Garry's Mod is fun, and it's a playground, and it doesn't hurt anything. It hasn't hurt sales. That's crazy. Why would this be a problem? I think this sucks. And then at the same time, it's also weird that Nintendo suddenly cares. I don't know why. My theory on this, Jan, is always Nintendo, especially Nintendo of America, just hires a bunch of people to do jobs. And those people just do their job, and their job is to protect Nintendo IP, and they just go out there and do those jobs. And then one day they hand a report in that says, hey, I was looking at stuff, and I finally got around to taking another look at stuff that's on Steam. Garry's Mod's got 2 decades worth of Nintendo IP stuff just littered everywhere. Let's just do something about that. I already did all the process. All we have to do is hit this button, and they'll get a notice, and they'll just start taking stuff down. I think it's probably usually something that simple, and not this directive from above of we have to get rid of Garry's Mod. I don't think the bosses in Nintendo are ever saying anything like that. I think this is just a lawyer doing their job, and still, that really sucks.
Yeah, it really stinks. I can't tell you, Grubb, any time that I've ever fired up Garry's Mod that I've sought out Nintendo assets specifically, and even then, I don't think, realistically, if we're talking, I don't think the Venn diagram, the intersection is that big of folks playing Garry's Mod religiously or even often enough to upload Nintendo stuff. And your regular decular Nintendo Switch fan or whatever is that big, right? I don't think seeing anything in Garry's Mod is going to affect or has affected your buying decisions on a Nintendo platform. It really does stink, because I feel Nintendo lawyers, Nintendo of America lawyers, there's a million other things y'all could occupy yourselves with, rather than continuing to, kind of throw the rep of Nintendo down the drain, or at least, tarnish it. There are other things y'all could busy yourselves with. Perhaps
Yep. It's the kind of thing where
Because Grubb, this is a slippery slope here. You know, right now they're taking down stuff in Garry's mod that have existed for 20 years. What if they start taking down all the Bowsette art?
okay. Listen, don't even joke about that.
I don't mean to radicalize anyone, right?
Jesus.
Or incite violence here, but like,
My heart stopped.
what if they take down the Bowsette art?
You shut your mouth. Don't you say that. Don't you ever say that. It feels like the way that things are going, they'll get to everything eventually, including that and all the stuff that people cherish and hold dear and close to their hearts.
But like, you know, I joke, but honestly, it's like, where do they draw the line in what they deem okay and not okay, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and it feels like the line is decided differently every day, as though like they would wake up and like, all right, well, we finished the last project, which was eliminating emulators. And now it's like, okay, what's the next project? It's like, well, I don't know. We'll have a meeting about that. Anyone have any ideas? Like, I really do think it's that mundane. And if that is the process, it never stops, right? They just wake up the next day and have something new on their plate, and they go after that.
They're gonna like take down Deviant Art in 2 weeks because of all of the Mario drawings, whether they are horny or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
or
yeah.
I think about like all of the like miscellaneous creators on YouTube or other social media platforms that have like something slightly Mario related or inadvertently Mario related, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, is this not up? Is this not cool with Nintendo this week that it's going to be like banned from the existence of life now?
Yep. It's do you think someone at like Nintendo, like a boss, like their kid came home and said, "Dad, quit being so skibbity"? And they're like, "Skibbity? What's this?" And then they looked up skibbity toilet, and that was that. And they're like, "Okay, well now we have to get rid of Garry's mod."
Oh boy.
I think that's almost certainly what happened here. I learned that skibbity just means bad. And Ohio apparently means cringe. The kids don't say cringe anymore. They say Ohio.
Oh man, I'm behind then.
Jan, you're old.
Vernacular.
You're welcome. Yep. Shit. I learned this from I think a middle school teacher on TikTok. So that's how I'm learning these things, to be fair. So everyone quit being so skibbity Ohio out there. Slang Ohio's slang for mid. Okay, listen. I don't really understand. I'm 40 years old. 41, excuse me. I don't even know how old I am. That's how old I am. All right. You know what? Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we got a lot more headlines, including what's going on with Capcom raising their earnings and Steam's refund policy getting a slight change right after this.
Yummy like a gummy
That's
bear.
the wrong one.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Okay, we're back. You got a little music treat there for half a second. Capcom is raising its full year earnings forecast on better than expected game sales. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Capcom has raised its full year's earnings forecast after new and older games sold well during the 12 months ended on March 31st, 2024. The Japanese publisher, which is due to report its full year earnings on May 9th, had already forecasted record results for the fiscal year in its original guidance. It announced today that it has raised its net sales forecast by 8.9% to around $979 million and increased its net income forecast by 8.3% to around $278 million. Basically, what they're saying here is Street Fighter 6 did really well, did better than they thought. Dragon's Dogma 2 did really well, way better than they thought. And they said further sales grew for catalog titles consisting primarily of past titles from major series due to their steady popularity. Altogether, this has led us to expect earnings for this business to exceed our plan. Mostly what I want to talk about here, Jan, is Capcom continues to be the model, right? This is the model everyone's going after. Now, whenever I would bring this up on like social media or something, people would be like, I'd be like, hey, you know, Konami is looking at what Capcom's doing and they want to be like more like Capcom now. And people would point out that Konami has like made a lot of money in the past and is worth more than Capcom still. But the number that we're always talking about when we have this conversation is this growth. How fast is a company growing? Konami is not growing nearly as fast, and for many of its quarters recently, not growing at all. Capcom, meanwhile, is having substantial growth quarter after quarter for the last several years, and it's because they're going back to these basics. They're putting out very, very good video games in franchises that people love. And then they found ways to make a relatively newer franchise in Dragon's Dogma reach that next echelon, and they succeeded at that. this is the model, right?
Yeah. I think they've also garnered a lot of goodwill in a organic way where it's like, if we make good games and we don't screw with the player too much, people like us, turns out.
Yep.
My question for Capcom is, when God Hand?
Yeah, it does feel like they should start like, okay, we succeeded with Dragon's Dogma, and that team, who knows what they do? Do they do more Dragon's Dogma content? Excuse me. Do they go make another Dragon or Devil May Cry? That's possible. How many
Sure.
more? How much like capacity do they have to start like looking back at other games? But they should. I think that this is a company that now could take a God Hand and help it reach the next echelon. I think if they announced a God Hand sequel, people would be very excited, and then a lot of fans who didn't play the original will be like, "Why is everyone so excited? I need to see this for myself." I did like half joking, but I think that would work.
I also think of like the place where they're at with the RE engine and how well it's been deployed and utilized, and I think they could honestly probably take an IP like Onimusha and bring it to like modern consoles, or at least like reinvent it, right?
Yep.
And the thing is, when you look at Capcom's like back or library, there's so many deep treasure troves to kind of bring into the modern world, whether it is like the big stuff like Mega Man or more Phoenix Wright titles, right? But also, imagine Grubb in I really adore and love the visual stylings of Metaphor ReFantazio.
Yep.
But imagine all of that jazz with Beautiful Joe in 2024-25, right?
Yep.
And hey, yo, on top of that, Dead Rising with modern consoles and modern technology. Think of all the zombies.
I think the story here is like, there are so many opportunities for them to bring back these franchises that are like on the precipice or like sort of receded behind the precipice once again of that like line of like they make sense to keep working on them. And it's like Capcom's on such a roll. They seem to have such an understanding of quality at this point that we trust them to bring back anything at this point and make it valid and make it a sort of an important part of their lineup at this point. It's like, I would trust you with anything at this moment, and that's great.
It's interesting. Ben H talks about maybe a Dead Rising 1 remade. They just want the mall, and think about how novel the concept of a mall would be in 2025, 26, right? Where malls across America are just dying, and they do feel like zombie infested pits. It's very weird to think of a game or a movie set in a mall being very retro feeling, but like original Dead Rising came out in what, 05 or
around that time? It would have been in that 05 to 08 period, I think, right? God, I don't remember anymore.
So long ago now, Grubb.
Yes, we're getting close to 20 years.
I remember a couple months ago, you and Mike were checking out Strider or your Strider game for your game club on Game S.
Good game.
It's a Metroidvania. Exactly. I think there's definitely a world where you can bring Strider back, especially with like the proliferation of like Metroidvanias becoming like another hot genre where we're at right now.
I think the next project really probably should be Mega Man. That's the one where it's like, let's get Mega Man figured out. It doesn't have to be like, let's do it with the understanding that we have the capacity to make something that is important on the Jeff Bakalar scale. And at the same time, not put the pressure on Mega Man to have to be a game that can sell 10 million copies. Let's just put in a really a valiant effort, whether that is like a new 2D game or something that tries to be something more, whatever. I think I kind of trust Capcom at this moment to figure out what they want to do with that. But go for it, and let's see if we can like get Mega Man back into this rotation of Resident Evil, Resident Evil Remake, Monster Hunter, now Dragon's Dogma, and Mega Man in there, like a new Mega Man at once every 5 years, something like that. Like that would be pretty cool. So I think that's probably where they will go. I think they are concerned about Mega Man and making sure that he stays relevant, but we'll see.
Grubb, do you see Capcom or a world where Capcom would license out their IP to like a different dev, like how Nintendo is kind of doing that for like a baby's breath with like Zelda and Cadence of Hyrule? Because I would be
Yeah.
interested to see that.
I think so. Yeah, I think that they will, as they like look for ways to grow, they'll like look for those opportunities. But it's it's difficult because there's not a ton of those studios out there that can do stuff like that. So I think that will continue to be the roadblock there.
While we're kind of like fantasy booking about Mega Man, what style of Mega Man, Grubb, do you see? Do you see like the regular little boy Mega Man, a Mega Man X? You know me that I'm Battle Network coded and I just want Capcom to let me jack in, baby.
Let them jack everybody.
Like, do you take Mega Man and do like a completely off the wall idea? Or do we go back to like Mega Man Legends?
Suntone in chat mentioned Mega Man but Returnal, and I think that works, but I think you keep the style. I know it's like, I'm like, I can't get that out of my head now. You do that, but you keep the style of a existing Mega Man. Don't try to make it like that Bomberman Zero or the Bionic Commando 3D game. Don't try to like butch it up. Don't try to like make it feel like it's for adults now. I think you try to adjust the style of like a Mega Man X maybe to that, and cell shaded or whatever. Just make sure it's still colorful and cool and it has all the same vibes as previous Mega Man games, but maybe with the gameplay of something like a Returnal. That could be cool. And a Mega Man 3D shooter roguelite. Yeah, that sounds promising. That sounds very cool.
I don't want to activate you here, Grubb. What if Mega Man could scan?
Yeah, okay. Mega Man Prime. Yeah, that could work too. Shit. Yeah. 3D Mega Man Metroidvania. Yeah.
Mega Man Prime? Okay, I like this.
For that, yes. I'm not the biggest Mega Man fan. I know the biggest Mega Man fan. He's Mike Minotti. I think at a certain point, those fans are like just anything, but a 2D game, maybe especially just like the old times, would be fine. But I think they'll try to do more. I think they will try to do more, which I don't think they're against. I don't think fans are against that idea. I think they honestly just want Mega Man back.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take a Mega Man Animal Crossing. Mega Man at the Shire.
Yeah, Mega Man just shows up and it helps Frodo plant some barley or something. Not the dog.
I just want like Dr. Light to be like talking in my ear as like Mega Man is scanning things.
Yes, a Mega Man Stardew Valley. Let's just do it.
Screw it. Let's do Helldivers 2, but Mega Man.
Everything could be Helldivers 2 if you think about it.
You get Proto Man, Mega Man. You get a Zero, and then I don't know, a base or roll, or one of you's Rush the dog.
Yes, one gets to be the dog. All right. We'll see. I hope that they can figure that out. But either way, Capcom growing very fast. They are not abandoning this strategy. It is working out for them, and everyone else is trying to be like Capcom. That continues to be the case.
Hey, there was a 3D platform fighter, an Onimusha 3D platform fighter for, I believe, the PS2 that was not that bad. Just do that again.
Do it again. We'll see. All right, Steam refund policy changes have closed an early access loophole. This is from Darren Bontheus at GameSpot. Valve has announced that it's closing a loophole in its refund policy. With a regular game release, players can request a refund within 14 days of their purchase or if they've played the title for less than 2 hours. This process didn't work for games in Steam's early access program, as users could log many hours of playtime before the full launch of the game and apply for a refund after. As of today, that loophole has now been closed. I gotta say, Jan, I thought it already worked this way, so I'm like, yeah, that seems right. I mean, at a certain point, early access is like this more refined thing of we are putting out a project that will still be fun to play and something that if you'll know whether you enjoy it or not after 2 hours or whether it's working or not. And it's all about just like making some refinements, like a Hades 2 or something like that, or Hades 1 for crying out loud. I would think that if you're going to play that game for 150 hours in early access and then it gets to 1.0 and you're like, well, now I want a refund. That seems weird to me. Don't be that person if you're upset about not being able to get refunds anymore. Would be my suggestion.
Yeah, don't be that person that returns like a 10-year-old couch to Costco.
Yes. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And it's the kind of thing where if you are like buying an early access game, it has all of the warnings. It gives you all like the heads up, like this game isn't finished. Don't buy this game. Don't buy this game. Just don't do it. And then if you like go past all that stuff and still buy it, it's on you at that point. And you should have the same rules applied as buying any other game, in my opinion. Yeah. And I think most people, are like, yeah, of course, I don't buy early access games. It's like, hell yeah, cool. I think we all agree that that's probably the right choice for you. And I think this is the right move from Steam.
100%. It seems semi-baffling that it wasn't already. I guess I understand the concept of early access, but like,
right.
If you're in that example, Grubb, if you're going to drop 100+ hours into a game that is clearly marketed as early access, dog, I hope you've earned that money back.
Yes. 100%.
That you don't need the $12 that like an early access game will generally be. Okay, 20 maybe.
Right. And like, yeah, that's right, because early access games are often discounted in price and they go up over time and things like that. So yeah. Real quick, we're just gonna gloss over this story, but like related to this, Moon Studios, who put out that No Rest for the Wicked, they're like, hey, we really wish Nintendo and PlayStation would embrace early access. I'm also surprised that hasn't happened at this point. Xbox does have their preview program, and there's been no real issues with that. I don't think, and again, I guess here's the problem, right? Is if PlayStation and Nintendo were to do that, they would need to have a more robust refund policy, which they don't. That's the thing. I think Xbox has a pretty similar refund policy to what Steam does. Pretty similar. I don't think it's quite as good. But PlayStation definitely doesn't. Nintendo absolutely doesn't. So that's probably the holdup here. Is Nintendo and PlayStation like, we want to keep people's money instead. But early access, I think, is fantastic. It has helped games grow on Xbox. Clearly, has been a huge fostering ground for incredible projects on Steam. Nintendo and Sony probably should embrace this, or is that something like maybe that doesn't work with consoles? What do you think?
I think it doesn't work with consoles as it is right now because of what you highlighted, Grubb, of there isn't a really good refund policy in place at Nintendo and Sony, and I don't think they want to do the work to make that easier for the customer, because then that just opens the floodgates of like a whole slew of other problems, rather than like, yes, it would be great to allow early access. It'd be cool to be able to sign up for like an early tech test of Hades 2 on my Switch or PS5. And get more players interested in that. But like, I think at that point, Grubb, like they do not want to make that process easier, because as it is right now, it is a nightmare to request a refund on PlayStation platforms. That, all right, well, cool, you got this early access game, and maybe they do wind up allowing that point where someone does play 100 hours in an early access game and can get a refund there, or if they jump through the right hoops. But like, maybe someone accidentally purchased Suicide Squad 2 a couple months ago, and maybe they weren't able to get a refund then, but the refund policy is now changed, so maybe they will let me get a refund for Suicide Squad 2.
Yeah, maybe you like, maybe you still only played for an hour. Yeah, Suicide Squad, yeah. Yeah. I just continue to think like, hey, this is where magic happens. This is where so many so many of the biggest games in the world still to this day are games that were previously in early access. That goes like Minecraft, Fortnite, PUBG. Game of the year quality games. Hades was an early access thing.
Dead Cells.
Dead Cells. For me, like this thing where it's like this is just me. I get why people feel this way, but for me, when I hear people say, "Oh, I just want to play a game that's finished," it's like, whatever I play. My understanding of the way games work now is none of them are finished. They're just abandoned. It's art. Everything's just abandoned, and then they put it out. It's like they get it to a point where it's like it's good enough, but no one felt like they actually finished anything. And it's like I want to just be a little bit earlier in that process and be involved sometimes, not always. I don't want to play every game in early access. But there's occasional project where I really feel a stronger connection because I was there from the beginning. Dead Cells is definitely one of those. PUBG's another one of those for sure.
Sure.
All right, moving along here. You can now use your Rock Band instruments in Fortnite, and that's Fortnite Festival. This is from Ben Lyons at Game Reactor. Do you still have Rock Band instruments hidden away somewhere at home? If so, we have some very good news for you. Epic Games and Harmonix has revealed that you can now use some Rock Band 4 instruments in Fortnite Festival. Granted, as of now, only a limited number of instruments are available to use, and these span the Riffmaster wireless guitar for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. the Rock Band 4 wireless Fender Stratocaster guitar for PS4 and Xbox One, or the Rock Band 4 Rivals wireless Fender Jaguar guitar for PS4 or Xbox One. It's also not as simple as just plugging in and playing with these devices yet either, as some will need additional adapters to use while playing on PC, and it seems to only be the Pro Lead, the Pro Lead and Pro Bass stages of songs that are applicable to be experienced with these peripherals right now. To see which hurdles you need to jump through, check out the table. There's a blog post up on, I think, Epic's website for this stuff, or maybe Harmonix. Either way, this is still pretty cool. This is the kind of thing where it's like, people do still have many of these things sitting around, and Fortnite has a Rock Band thing in it now. I'm glad that these instruments are going to work. They made a new guitar that people can buy, but if you have one, there's a potential here it could function.
Yeah, that's really cool. I know that those plastic instruments have taken up a lot of space in people's basements, people's closets, thrift stores across the country, that they can now be repurposed.
Yep.
And new life can be breathed onto them.
Have you even observed Fortnite Festival with your human eyes? Because I've not even looked at it.
Was Billie Eilish performing this week?
I think Billie Eilish is performing in Fortnite. Is she in maybe she's performing in Fortnite Festival. I have no idea. I can't keep track of it anymore. I thought she was doing a concert like the others have done.
Ariana Grande?
Like Ariana Grande, yeah. And I want to say Tracy McGrady, but that's not who I'm thinking of.
Now I'm thinking of Tracy Morgan, and I hope Tracy Morgan's performing.
That would be fantastic. That would rule. Stand-up acts in Fortnite? That would be fantastic.
I have not really checked out Fortnite Festival. I'm also confused as to what Festival is. It's their rhythm game?
Yeah, I mean, it's they bought Harmonix. Harmonix made a music rhythm game that works with these controllers called Fortnite Festival. But you're right, Jan. I'm a little bit confused about what it even looks like. I feel like, I want to Google it real quick and just Fortnite Festival screenshot and see if I think Billie Eilish is performing in Fortnite Festival Season 3. You're right, Jan. Look at that. Is that? Oh, that's The Weeknd. Okay. All right. Cool.
Ladies and gentlemen.
There he is. The Weeknd. I'm curious. I definitely have a couple of guitars in my closet for Rock Band. I'm like, maybe those will work. I'll go and see if they're the right ones. I don't know. At the same time, I do have Rock Band 3 or Rock Band the Beatles for PlayStation 3 sitting right over there. Maybe I'll just play that instead. The problem seems to be, and people are pointing this out in chat, and this is what I have heard about this, is songs are very expensive in Fortnite Festival. I think people said they're like $5 each.
Oh, yucky.
That's like kind of prohibitively expensive when you start thinking what if I got into this? Am I really going to buy, 10 songs? That's $50 alone. That's kind of a rough hurdle to get over. I don't know. What do you think?
That seems insane, especially with how prolific stuff like streaming is now, that I think they would have tried to approach it with a different pricing model.
Right.
Oh God. But I mean, I guess folks will pay for at least song packs. Does that exist?
Nikki says there's a rotating list of free tracks. So it's like, okay. League of Legends, right? Where there's, hey, here's the free heroes this week. And
Sure.
Billie Eilish is the free hero every week, I think. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Nikki says, in my opinion, if you're spending $5 per track in Fortnite Festival, you're a clown. Yeah, I think that's kind of what everyone's kind of getting at here. All right. Hey, your instruments work, though, and rich people can enjoy it. Have fun. Rich clowns.
Does my DS Guitar Hero controller work?
Yes. Listen, if it doesn't, we'll get it working. We'll find some way. Do you really have one of those?
No,
man.
I was fibbing.
I was like, Grubb. I wanted to see it. I just wanted to see it. All right, let's keep going. Digital Eclipse's remake of Wizardry, the Dungeon Crawler, Dungeon crawls its way onto Switch in May. They were having fun with the headline, and they are Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life. Digital Eclipse has confirmed that its 3D remake of Sir Tech's Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord, will be heading to Nintendo Switch on the 23rd of May, 2024. Originally launched via early access on Steam in September 2023, the game is a full-on modernized remake of the 1981 classic for Apple II Now it's coming to Switch. I believe it might be coming to other consoles if it's not. But this is when I'm like, oh yeah, this came out, and I meant to check it out, and I never did. And I'm like, oh, this is a good reminder. For people that don't know, Wizardry is like very early role-playing video game that was so early, it's what inspired stuff like Final Fantasy. This became massively popular in Japan, and I think it inspired both Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, but it definitely was like something a lot of those creators played, and they're like, shit, I want to make a game like this. And so it's like influential in that way. And this remake takes this Apple II, monochrome game where they had like, the green visuals and that's all you could see, and makes it look very modern and makes it a dungeon crawler where you're going like one screen at a time, and it completely updates everything. It's like an amazing digital Eclipse remake. So like, this is something I at least want to like mess around with. And now it's on Switch, so it's more available for more people.
I loved Eclipse's work recently.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind dipping my toes into this, despite never really being a fan of this style of RPG, though, Grubb. I don't know why. Anytime it's like a first-person dungeon crawler like this, I just can't get into it.
Yeah, I've played a few of these like the like one screen at a time dungeon crawlers, and I begin to see like what's appealing about them. But yeah, usually it's like I'm like one step removed from fully getting into it, but I still want to like just experience this and see what it's like a little bit.
Yeah, there was a Persona game that was like this. Persona Q, thank you, Medusa.
Right,
Lover69. And I thought maybe with the trappings of Persona I could get into it, but even then, it just like
even then. Finally, Fallout 4's next gen update is out. There's like some new stuff in there. You can get an Enclave weapon skin, Enclave armor skin, Tesla weapon, Hellfire servo armor, X02 servo armor, heavy incinerator, bunch of new stuff in there. But basically they're like, hey, it's 60 frames per second on consoles, and it is Steam Deck verified. So that's pretty cool.
Ooh, yeah.
You gonna check it out?
Grubb, I still have New Vegas burning a hole, and I want it.
I think New Vegas
dive
is
deep into
probably the right move for most people. Again, I do love Fallout 4. But the way most people come at that game, it's not exactly. Listen, does building a home base and a garage for all your power armor sound cool to you, or does having cool conversations sound better?
Cool convos.
Yeah, your New Vegas is the game for you. There you go.
Okay,
congratulations. All right, let's get to the poll question. While I get that, actually, I got it right here. Let's just get into it. Poll question: are you getting Stellar Blade? Yes or no? 27% said yes. 73% said no. That's like, I think maybe a little bit disappointing for a game that reviewed pretty well, but I think people are like, character action game with kind of bland setting and characters I don't recognize. I don't know. Maybe this is just normal for the character action genre now. What do you think?
I think so. I hate that this game is kind of being used as like a Jack Perry scapegoat of like woke people versus non-woke people.
Yeah.
But I have a strong feeling those folks that are rallying behind it and saying like, yeah, we can be horny again, aren't even going to fucking buy it because they're a bunch of dumb fucks. Sorry.
No, I think you're probably right. That a lot of those people are just here for the culture war and are sort of glomming on like parasites onto the gaming space to make their bones, which is disgusting.
I don't mean to be classist here, but I also think a bunch of them are like brokies.
Yeah. I mean, and then above that, like this is a PS5 only game. There's a lot of people who probably are like, I'll get this maybe when I do get a PS5. Although 55 million PS5 sold, that's a ton. I don't know. It's hard to like figure out exactly what the problem is here, but I'm sure the fact that it's only on PS5 is an issue for some people who are normal. Some of the normal people out there. All right. I got a new poll question. We'll get to that here in a second. Before we do, Jan, what do we have happening on giantbomb.com?
Later today, we have the voicemail dump truck. I believe we're still going to try and do a grab bag stream of sorts.
We'll do a grab bag stream of sorts. Play some of these bigger ones.
Okay. Grubb, I know I approached you saying like, oh yeah, let's check out Ayudin Chronicles. We don't need to check out Ayudin Chronicles for this stream.
Yep.
But later today, folks, go re-download Fortnite. And I'm sorry, I saw a couple folks saying like, I finally kicked the habit. It's time to tap back in, baby. Daddy continues to need his fix because we're bringing our kid to work day. And
bring your dib to work day.
Bring your dib to work day. We're gonna TNT with Dib. So protect Dib at all costs. Protect Dib from Dan.
Okay, so here's the deal. I need to still like double check on like exactly what we can do. We might do some Fortnite custom games, and you can all come play. I've heard tell that Dan's gonna be dressed as a Terminator and maybe tracking down Dib. We protect Dib. All right, we grab Dan. No grabbing Grubb. Well, you can grab Grubb if you want. That's fine. You're still allowed to do that. But let's protect Dib. All right. I feel like I don't even have to say this. I think the community understands it fully and is ready to go.
Yes.
So. That should be fun. And if Dib gives you orders, you have to obey. I think that's it.
Yes. Yeah.
It'll be a good time.
Tomorrow, another episode of Game Mess Mornings, UPF and BCR, where we will be talking about Stellar Blade.
Yep, we're gonna do like a Stellar Blade review cast. Got Imran coming back for that. I think Sean will be on there. I played it a little bit. I'll hang out with you guys. Ask you guys some questions. I think.
Hey, I've seen some costumes in Stellar Blade, and let me tell you.
Yeah, I did do the skin suit. That's it. I did do it. It's I get it.
It's okay to be horny.
It's very okay to be horny. Have you watched this website? Come on, everybody.
Yeah.
New poll question. Let's do this one. Do you still have instrument controllers for Rock Band? Yes or no? I'm just curious to see if you ever got rid of those or not. And if you never had them, you can just say no as well. That's fine. We will get the results for this and discuss it on Game Mess Mornings on Giant Bomb tomorrow. In the meantime, Jan, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it, man.
It's my favorite way to start a Thursday, Grubb.
You are all the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye. Fade to black.